Can everyone hear me? Are you there, Tony?
It helps if I take it off mute, right?
Yeah, and if you could put the camera on. Thank you so much for joining us. We know you're a busy guy.
Well, thank you for having me, Michael, and everyone for all their efforts and information. So, I'd like to throw up some slides here. Might be illustrative of some scale and what we can do with the biochar. I definitely will be speaking about some of the good news here, which is we're a very cost-effective solution for remediation and revegetation. Can everyone see that?
We can see it.
Great. So, again, my name's Tony Myers, and we have an interesting product. It's a very sustainably produced product. We actually qualify for 3 tons of carbon dioxide removal credits for every 1 ton of biochar produced. The further good news here is that that's a very high efficacy carbon that we're creating, and has incredible results with regard to remediation, revegetation, crop production, and so on. We use mostly wood in our efforts as a feedstock, and this is all waste wood. We don't take live trees. There's infinite amounts of it. There's 100 million acres of it in the US alone, or North America alone, of dead beetle-killed pine trees, for example. We have sites around the country: Colorado, Texas, North Carolina, Virginia. We have a site in permitting in Placer County. And we have a lot of other sites in the US and some abroad, then they're in the works as well. So our basic process is simply this. We're going to take the wood waste, we're going to put it in a clean kiln technology, and out comes what you see here in the bottom, which is a very clean carbon matrix. The beauty of this is that there's going to be an electrostatic property imparted naturally as a little trick of nature due to our long duration process at certain temperatures under a vacuum. This creates the additional mechanism for remediation and acting like a battery in the soil due to that property and the high surface area you see like this picture. Our carbon has a half-life of about 17,000 years per US government testing. This is unfortunately the state of affairs in North America and beyond. With so much environmental contamination, the pests are getting the upper hand due to vegetation that's been weakened due to the toxins and other issues. Not all biochar is created equal. Like many materials, it's simply there's different grades of material for different uses. You know, if you're going to use it, whether at large scale or small, good idea is to very much lean to the type on the left versus the one on the right, which you can see is there's still a lot of volatiles in that material. Also, you can look for a silvery, shiny finish. It shouldn't be just black. That's a sign of lower quality as far as efficacy for remediation and agriculture and so on. We do 8 to 10 hours worth of processing time to get these sorts of unique properties. You may not have heard much of us in the consumer market and with flashy news items, but we work for over 650 large companies, government entities, etc., doing all kinds of different remediation. Now, we're not a service company, we're a product provider, though, just to be clear. This is a little illustrative of some of the uniqueness. We're actually the only biochar company that's ISCC Plus certified from the German government. We do have insured carbon dioxide removal credits. It's another unique aspect in the marketplace. We don't know of any others at this point. There's some so-called insurance out there, but we're insuring for everything. And we can produce at very, very large scale. We have a very large sales pipeline, which means that we're creating a lot of carbon. So 1909, typical forest scenario. You flip to 1989, it's a little mismanaged possibly in areas. Leads to fire so hot that it destroys the fertility of the area, and very hard to revegetate at that point. We can remedy that with our carbon. We're working on negotiation for 970 acres of support for burned forests in the West right now, as one example. We're a very proven product for lots of different contaminants. This is not an exhaustive list, but it does give you a flavor for what you can expect. We do very well with heavy metals. We can absorb forever chemicals, which is a very big deal. PCBs, dioxins, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, other oil gas, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and on it goes. Phosphorus and nitrates are another really important area. See a lot of that in the fires. End up with a lot of runoff of phosphorus and nitrates. Let's see here. So it's fairly hard to wash anything out of our biochar once it's absorbed. It's that electrostatic binding. The plant can tickle out the nutrients as it sees fit, and leave other contaminants alone. But the good news here is, regardless of how much irrigation or rain, you're maintaining most of that, to the point of, in this example with DuPont removing mercury in the river in Virginia, we leave our filtration systems in the river themselves. Also, the biochar is worked into the banks and other overflow points, like these floodplain areas where biochar and compost are placed, and you can walk away. Obviously, the costs are less from an in situ scenario like this. Also, part of the effort here was testing for what happens to the food chain with one of these contaminants in the biochar. So what was tested for over 3 years was the biochar, was it migrating any contaminants through the digestive tracts, and all the testing showed that we're binding the contaminant, in this case mercury, and then it's passing through intact. And so that gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of certainty in what you're up to. We were actually 5 times more effective than other carbons that DuPont and AECOM, their very large contractor, had ever seen for mercury absorption. I just giving you a little thumbnail sketch here of what's possible, and it's possible at a very cost-effective price point, small scale, large scale, and a lot of different flexibility with application. So here's simply DuPont and part of their project, because the alternative here is dredging. And of course, dredging is so expensive that everybody just waves their hands wildly and says, you don't want to bankrupt us, right? So nobody ever dredges much. So this was only about $50,000 a mile instead of millions per mile type of solution. So we're talking about minimal disturbance to the environment, mostly adding absorptive material, and obviously in large contrast to dumping the problem, picking up the problem and dumping it somewhere else. Another bit of these just pictorial of different things going on at the site, but this little cage here, that's a stainless steel system that we place silt socks in there filled with our material. The end result of some of the efforts is, as you see here, at the top was the beginning, and then you can see lush vegetation. This happens very rapidly. We also work with some microbe suppliers. The biochar acts like a microbe condominium. and has a tremendous impact. Tremendous impact. So when you add other sorts of microbe formulas, rather than just letting nature go, you can even ratchet it up even faster. So I'll just make this mention, but the opportunity is here not to take 6 to 10 years to turn around large chemical centric farm operations into biodynamic farms and do it really rapidly, especially with additional microbes. So one other note on the microbes, since the biochar supports it so well, it's a low-cost opportunity. NatureSolve, we work with them and some other folks. NatureSolve is out of Utah, but their fungal varieties can drive arsenic right back into the soil, and other contaminant issues. It, of course, also break things down like PFAS chemicals. The biochar is there to sequester the remnants of that as well. This is very typical in remediation issues. You have a toxicity issue, so you want to get rid of your mercury, or you want to get rid of your fracking chemicals or something. It's like, well, there's also other problems like the nutrient issues for the plants, the desiccated soils due to the high salt content, so on and so forth. So that's the good news here is that the biochar and things like microbes can deal directly with these sorts of things. Worth noting, just in case I don't remember to mention it, is the product is approved by the USDA for livestock use. That gives you a little glimpse into other ways to utilize the biochar and the safety of it. It's organically certified, it's USDA biopreferred, it's made only from vegetative sources, and it's also the only biochar EPA Toxic Substance Control Act listed since 2015. So we're trying to get things to a point where nature can run on its own. It definitely knows better than we do much of the time. We can absorb, this is very important because there's some very large scale projects that we're working on. We can take up a pound of phosphorus for about $2 worth of our carbon. Now, contrasting that to other best management practices that were known a few years back from the state of Virginia, and you're talking it's 1%. I mean, so I guess I just want everybody to be heartened that we're headed toward a point where there's some natural processes that are cost effective. Whether you want to work on your yard, or you want to work on the park, or whether you want to clean up a major bay. So this is one example of rapid removal of the excess nutrients and the algae going away because that's their feed. That's their food. This is a picture of floating biochar socks, we like to call them. So they will descend suspended in the water like that, and the water moving all day long, it continuously filters. We can use that for PFAS chemicals. We've been using it successfully for that. Nutrient pollution, obviously, as well. That's where we got started with the sock concept. This is an example in Cape Coral, trenches of biochar where you have runoff points. And then additionally, let's see, so this is another area after it's all been filled back in. It's they're starting the revegetation process. Another example, salty soils, all the soil compaction issues, lack of nutrients, and so on. This is Rex, which is a big remediation company, speaking to our product. We've been proven as an effective soil amendment for improving water and nutrient retention, dealing with structure of packed soils and salt desiccation issues, nutrients, and so on. We can hold about 5.6 times our weight in water. So we're another great option for water support. Here's a famous Cornell study just to give you a flavor, because this is very important. If you want to clean something up, you have to stabilize things at some point. And revegetating is so much of the time one of the key aspects, and that includes in growing through contamination or sequestering all of that contamination in order to make for a safe revegetation. So in this particular example, they had a certain amount of biochar with fertilizer, and they had an 880% yield improvement. Now, they had really bad soil. It was Amazon soil. It's really bad, but that's where they landed. It's not unusual for us, though, in commercial farming environments to have 2 and 3 times crop yield. We've doubled turf biomass. We've got 3 times growth improvement in trees in the Saudi desert right now. We use a very low percentage of biochar, so you don't need tons and tons of it per acre. It has led to the marketplace has led the USDA to reimbursing for biochar in many states. It's available in any state, but not all states participate just yet. This is a national landscape company. I think it's worth mentioning here because if somebody wants to deal with their yard post-fire contaminations and the continued wind issues and everything else, put some biochar in the yard. This was 1.6% by volume calculation. It was only topically dressed. It's a 3 millimeter particle still sitting on the top of the soil 89 days later, and it doubled the turf biomass for a $1 billion national landscape customer of ours. More tree growth, topical application, massive root improvement on the right. Water retention, extraordinary, 42% versus 18% in the left example. I'll mention this other one here. Biochar is the most effective method we've ever tested in saving water costs based on our 25 years of experience in the industry. This is great. We're right now down at the PGA developer event in Panama. We're the only product provider invited, which is obviously a good sign. Solutions are here now, folks. Happy to reach out or somebody give me a call or reach me on email, etc. We're cost effective, we're scalable, and happy to help you wherever we can.
Great. Tony Myers, thank you so much for your time today. We know you're a busy guy. I mean, you're working on huge projects like biocharing the Great Salt Lake and some other things. So we appreciate your expertise and your years of experience and also the solutions that you do bring. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, I see she's arrived. We're going to go on to our next presenter. We're pretty much 3/4 of the way through our Soil Summit series, and I think it's easy to see without looking too far that we have a whole wide range of consultants and contractors, of product reps and affiliates that are doing truly amazing work. Today we're focused primarily on the response to the fires that happened in the Altadena area. And of course, we learned today also the difference between a wildfire and an urban interface fire that affects a lot more people's homes and livelihoods as opposed to just forests and environment in general. So joining us now from SoilWise, I want to introduce, I got to spend some time with her a couple weeks ago talking. Some of these people do have other interviews on Regen Media TV. I'll share the link. And before we bring her up, I just want to mention a lot of heart, a lot of time and energy went into this with the physical event yesterday and also with today's broadcast. If you are inspired or inclined to or could, I put in the thread, if you want to make a small tax deductible, if you like, donation, which will go to help support C3OX and Earthstock Foundation to continue to do this work that, as many of you know, takes hundreds of hours to organize and put together. And now we have this incredible resource pool of innovators and solutionaries. But without any further ado, again, your support is appreciated. I'd like to welcome Lynn Fang, who's wearing a great hat today, by the way.
Thanks, Michael. I'm on the road, so I don't have very nice slides for you guys right now, but there is a pre-recorded interview we did that's on YouTube. And I'm just going to share really quickly, soil-wise, we've been doing a lot of the post-fire soil contaminant testing and bioremediation work. Since the fires, we're very connected to the Altadena community, and we use all different tools, minerals, organic matter amendments, phytoremediation, soil inoculants, compost teas, and we have been kind of working with different scientists and community partners. We have really good results. Pretty much able to do reductions of soil lead by about 65 parts per million in 4 to 5 months. And so that we can also kind of maintain that rate of removal. And we had success removing and degrading hydrocarbons, including petroleum hydrocarbons and PAHs. And we have been trying to test and experiment with remediating forever chemicals, PFAS, as well as persistent contaminant dioxins and furans. And we've had some good positive results with those as well. And we have also been organizing with local nonprofit groups as the Dena Soil Project to do community bioremediation work days, provide free soil testing for low-income families, and also potentially be able to build up a resource hub where community members can access equipment and supplies to be able to do their own bioremediation work. And so we do have a crowdfunding campaign going for that right now as well. But yeah, we've had some really great results. And we also, aside from that, do general soil health testing with farmers and landscapers, soil health education. I have an online course on soil microscopy. So we also do biological assessments as well for landscapes and post-fire soils, inoculants, things like that. And we also have been doing some ecological landscaping work as well. And we've been featured with the Altadena Community Garden. We've done a lot of work with them, a lot of testing, where we've documented a lot of these successful and positive treatments that we have been innovating. We use some of the minerals like zeolites and biochar that help sequester metals and contaminants. We'll do sheet mulching, use our compost and mulch, and kind of soil inoculants to cultivate native soil fungi. We use phytoremediation plants also to remove metals and contaminants from the soil. And so all of that has been very positive. And we also have been doing soil contaminant testing. And fortunately, not everyone has super high levels of contaminants in their soil. One thing that we have noticed is that closer to the foothills, there's a little bit less contamination. And there's more contamination when you go a little bit further down. There's larger concentration of older structures, and also along the burn perimeter in like northern Pasadena and Altadena, they have received a lot of contamination from the fire. But aside from that, there's also legacy contamination. So when you dig down a little deeper in the soil, you can see still really high levels of lead. And it's because a lot of these homes were built in the early 1900s. People were using lead paint at the time. And if you wash, your paintbrushes outside, you can have that legacy contamination just persisting there and being really high. And there's also the dumping of construction debris in people's backyards that can also lead to high levels of contamination. And my hope is that we can address the fire-related contamination, but that we can also take the opportunity to address legacy contamination. It's great that people are really paying attention now. And, I feel like there was a little bit less attention previously, even though that stuff was still prevalent and was still there. And you can find out more about us. You can check out the website. It's soilwise.earth. And then we're on Instagram also at soilwise.earth. We have a phytoremediation workshop that's free to the community coming up Sunday, March 1st at Altadena Community Garden. So that would be a great way to come check out what we're doing.
Wow, so many solutionaries and luminaries today. Truly amazing. And I'm glad that you brought up about legacy contamination. Coming up, we're going to have, again, Shannon Nokon and Jordan Kellogg from the Shock Law Group that are helping people navigate post-fire litigation and working to hold certain people accountable. Also, we have Ray Serino and Brian Figueroa, both are involved in natural and green building, because the reason, like you said, we're in this situation is because we need to learn, and as sad as it is of what happened, it's an opportunity, like someone said, it's a clean palette right now. It's a clean canvas to recreate and rebuild green and to create really as a template and model for the world, ecological design, agro hoods, potentially microgrids, all of these types of solutions that are based on what happens beyond the fire and the idea of rebuilding. So again, thank you so much, Lynn Fang, for joining us today. So speaking about solutions, you know, sometimes when people, we have such a diversity of different people who present on Regen Media. I did put the link into the chat, so if you want more information later, or you want to share this video with other people and kind of unpack the genius and the amount of information that's here, scientific and otherwise, you can go to Regen Media TV, and also C30.X will 3.0X will also have this video available as the producer of the hands-on workshops and Soil Summit yesterday up at Greg Apodaca's property. But for just people who watch this video, like, oh my God, what can I do? And part of it is, what can you do is you can learn how to start creating your own compost also. So recently when I was at the Club Joyful, which is a conscious community place where people get together in Venice, alcohol-free, I got to meet Lizzie, Loch, who her and her partner have developed a very simple, easy to use, practical, for any household person, a technology that you can utilize for creating compost. So with that, I'd like to welcome Lizzie Loch, who's going to talk about very simple ground level backyard compost making.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Michael. I'm Lizzie Loch, and I'm here with my partner, Derek, and we are Alchemy Pot. And what we have is a simple solution for backyard composting. And we have a soil maker, which we have one behind us here. And it's a stoneware composter that you put the bottom half in the ground, and there's holes in the bottom. And so you put your food scraps in the top, the lid comes off, and you put your food in, and then worms can come in and out and distribute nutrients to the soil. And so our mission is really creating something that's simple and easy to use for the everyday person to be able to use in their backyard to start composting at home.
Yeah, so our solution is really simple. It's just the composter for people in their backyards. But the ripple effect of this is in many different directions. So food waste in the municipal waste cleanup cycle is one of the worst things for landfills, because it creates a lot of methane. It makes the trash wet and heavy, and we spend a lot of fossil fuels cleaning it up, when it can all be put into the ground on site where it's created, or where it ends. And then what we're able to do is offset the carbon that gets created in the landfill, as well as regenerate the land and filter through the land. There's a lot of a lot of the different solutions have to do with rebuilding the soil. And if we look at fire on a zoomed out perspective, a lot of times these wildfires come from are sort of the fruit of not enough soil, not enough rich soil being made. And since we have all this food that is at each person's house, we have so many opportunities to be making compost in the backyard, not only remediating each yard ourselves, but taking that out of the system, which centralizes all of the food scraps, which it would just be more efficient to decentralize that particular process, because often we go and we remediate land by planting trees. But if we do not remediate the soil first, the trees don't have a fair shot at planting. And anybody who plants trees knows that you need a good soil. So it's not enough to just plant the trees. We create the environment with the soil maker, with your own food scraps. It links those two things together: the food scraps and not only the regeneration of the land so that trees can sequester carbon, but over the course of a year, the average household creates about 500 pounds of food scraps that ends up in landfill, which then creates about 2,000 pounds of carbon dioxide. That is offset by a soil maker, which is actually the equivalent of 30 mature trees, what they sequester in a year. Mm-hmm. So the soil maker does not sequester that much, but it offsets it if all the food scraps go into the soil maker.
Yeah. And your average household processes about 10 pounds a week of food scraps, which is about what one soil maker can hold. And we'll screen share with you so you can see the soil maker a little bit more.
Yeah. So this is the soil food web, and basically the organic matter from your compost from the food scraps at home, they go through different trophic levels, and that's what filters any of the pollutants in the land. So the bacteria and the fungi and the protozoa and the nematodes, like soil is what remediates the land. It's also what prevents wildfires in the future. So the same thing that is going to clean up the mess is also going to prevent it in the future. In this case, it's soil. And how do we make soil as much as we can as far out as much as we can in different homes, decentralized? Because if you measure soil, 6 feet away, you may get a different test that shows something completely different. So it's important to spread out where soil is being made. And this is the easiest way to do it because everyone has food scraps they can put into the ground and start creating soil for themselves. So this is our product. It's made of stoneware.
So you'll see to install it, it's really easy. You just dig a hole in the ground and then you install the bottom half in the ground, and that's where all the holes are. And it's stoneware, so stoneware is what's been found for thousands of years in the ground, so it will last forever. It's made so you could pass it down the family line or to whomever, and the holes in the bottom allow the worms to come in and out. And with ours, we start with just a can of worms, and the worms repopulate themselves easily. We're going straight to the land and regenerating the soil at home. And
most composters are made of plastic, and so that just further adds to the problem because the plastic then leaches into the compost in the form of microplastics, which then get into the plants and into the food. Mm-hmm. So it's just a simple, straightforward solution. It's not rocket science here. It's just dig a hole and make sure that your food scraps end up in that hole. And this makes it easier so you don't have to dig a bunch of holes everywhere. You just do one and let nature do the work, and you're working with nature. Sort of like a a sourdough mother or a hive of bees. Every once in a while, you'll have to split the hive and spread it out, and that helps regenerate the land even further.
And so our mission is to get as many soil makers into backyards as possible. And then we're also starting an initiative to work with schools. And we would love to find a school in Altadena to potentially gift one to once our initiative launches. And we'll show you a little video on that. It's a 2-minute video. So if anyone has thoughts of schools in Altadena, this is kind of what we're working on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would mention Jericho Lambert, who's been working with schools, and of course, Eaton Fire, Residents United, and really a lot of these people on the call, Greg's property, and there's a lot of groups that were attended yesterday that are working on the ground. And I'm glad you said that, because our emphasis is to start to connect the dots, not just here as an infomercial, but to talk about really the solutions and get them deployed. And what we realized yesterday with all the people there, from government officials and the EPA to civic leaders, people from city council, to all of these small businesses who are also working in Altadena about economic development, supporting local, not always about huge disaster capitalists coming in, is that there's so many solutions and so much potential. So, you know, part of this is at some point we'll be sharing the emails with everyone. I want to, again, mention Greg Apodaca and Nikki from C3.0X. And there'll be a lot of information maintained, and we'll kind of continue the ball moving. And then we're looking at another soil summit around regenerative ag in May in Ojai, and then Greg has the Green Unconference. So I want to let people know there's a whole evolving and germinating ecosystem of collaboration and potential. But again, continue. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much.
Amazing.
I'll be pinging you for some of those names again. And if anyone watching feels resonance with this overall initiative, Altadena is definitely a place we'd like to support and be able to get soil makers to. And this is kind of our whole ethos for our Alchemy Pot initiative. So
yeah, we'll play this video and then we'll talk a little bit more about it, but here it is.
A cactus survives in the desert by conserving what little it has and protecting itself with thorns. A fruit tree in a forest survives differently. It feeds the soil, it feeds the ecosystem, it feeds itself. Where resources are scarce, survival depends on protection. Where resources are abundant, survival depends on connection. So what determines how a plant evolves? The environment it grows in, the soil. Now consider the emotional landscape of a middle school. If the culture feels like an emotional desert, students adapt. They grow guarded, defensive, thorny on the outside, and soft on the inside. But when the culture feels like a rich soil where safety and trust are cultivated, students grow differently. They grow inner strength, they collaborate, and they co-create. The question is simple. What kind of trees do we want to grow? And what kind of soil do we want to make? The Alchemy Pot initiative helps schools transform both the outer and inner environment. Outside, students use our in-ground composter, the soil maker, to turn food waste into living soil. They participate directly in regenerating the land. Inside the classroom, they practice a role game called Alchemy Pot, a guided process that builds emotional literacy, safety, and connection. Over the course of the school year, as they play the game and regenerate the land, students don't just grow a garden. They grow capacity. They start to internalize a regenerative framework for life. Our invitation is to empower our youth from the emotional desert where cactus is king to the rich, fertile lands of connection and trust. This is how culture regenerates, inside and out. Join us.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, we feel the inner is just as important to address as the outer. And the way to do that is sort of with the soil maker. It is we call it an alchemy pot because it turns the food scraps into soil. It turns the very thing, like food scraps, which when they end up in landfill, pollute the earth. It turns them into something beneficial. And so it becomes the fuel for the garden. And when you see things that normally are overlooked as waste into actually it has potential and is as fuel for something, that shifts the worldview. So that's why we're focused on the middle school age, elementary school age, for the next generation as well, so that we can not only remediate the soil on the outside, but not get into this mess, because some of these, major factors were driven by ideas that came from a scarcity mindset in the first place. So, addressing these things on different levels, we feel is important.
So that's our mission. If anyone feels resonance, you can find us at Alchemy Pod or connect at alchemypod.com. We're here to support.
Fantastic. I want to say great work. Talk about synchronicity. I'm at Conscious Life Expo here in LA today, and Chianti Murphy just walked in. Chianti was actually a great support person and one of the initial visionaries and volunteer support people.
Chianti.
Hey. And he's here now, and he said he thinks he got your email wrong because he wanted to reach out and get one of the composting pots. And so I'm going to give him your email. Make sure you put your email in the thread along with your website. But I want to acknowledge Chianti because he showed up yesterday and today has been very helpful in the whole process. You want to share a word for a moment?
Sure. So I want to thank all of you for participating and showing up. And that's just, what we got to do. Like, I'm not an expert in any of these matters. I'm a contributing artist and I'm a production assistant for events and so forth. I do many things, but I just, I'm always keeping informed, and I wanted to find out what was happening around the fires. And, I don't live in that area, but I'm aware, and I have friends who lost houses in that area, and Palisades as well. I just wanted to see what I could do, and do what I could do, and also get more informed, and also be a mouthpiece to let people know that these problems haven't gone away. People are still recovering. People are still being affected by it, and these kinds of things are going to continue to happen unless we make sure that people don't know that these things aren't going away, and that they will keep on reoccurring unless we change our ways. So I thank everyone for showing up and sharing your heart and your knowledge, and we're being a change.
And Chianti also helped bring in some of the presenters like Ray Serino, Jericho, and others. He was also very instrumental. Yeah, Michael Whitman, who was there making biochar on location. I mean, it's really been an incredible 2 days. So with that, we're going to pivot because we are talking about solutions.